Please welcome co-founder and Chief Executive Officer, Will Marshall.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Planet Explorer. It's fun to be here. I'm so glad to be here, especially here in Washington, D.C., one of my favorite cities, and especially when the cherry blossom is out, and you can even see it in a few of these pictures here. And can I just take a minute let's all take a minute to appreciate this beautiful planet we live on. I mean, look at these pictures. I promise it's going to be 2 days of exciting updates and great speakers from our amazing partners and some cool keynote speakers as well. I've been told we've over 1,000 people watching online, 600 people here in person. Thank you all for coming. This is also our first Explore, amazingly, since we went in person for over 3 years. And so I'm thrilled to spend the next couple of days having some FaceTime with you all, hearing about the work we're doing together, and discussing how we can do more to help our spaceship Earth. What I'm planning to cover is just 3 things. 1, a quick recap of what we've been doing since the last Explore. 2, talk a little bit about the new products that we'll be announcing here today, which I know many of you are keen to hear on. And 3, share a little window into where things are going in the future. So let's get right into it. First, I know many of you are familiar with Planet, but there are some newcomers here to the story. So firstly, let me say a warm welcome to you. A quick up to speed on Planet is this. Planet designs, builds, and operates 200 satellites in orbit, which perhaps most uniquely scan the entire Earth every day. And it's the largest Earth observation fleet in human history. We deliver 3 main products. 1 is the medium resolution daily scan. 2 is the high resolution tasking imagery. And the 3rd is the tools and systems to analyze and leverage that data. The applications of EO are vast, which is why it's especially true that that 3rd element we can't possibly do alone as Planet. We do it in collaboration with an ecosystem of partners, many of whom are here today. And our mission, as you can see here, is and always will be to image the whole Earth every day, make that data visible, accessible, and actionable. And that is that last word, actionable, that we're focused here on today at this Explore. This quick animation shows how our fleet works. The Dove satellites are in the polar orbit, and they each take a strip of images as they going around the Earth. The plane actually stays fixed with respect to the sun, but the Earth rotates underneath it every 24 hours very conveniently, enabling us to line scan the planet. So that's the system. I want to just recap the last year. It started off with, in December 21, we went public, which was really a big milestone for the company. This is us ringing the bell on the New York Stock Exchange, which was fun, of course. But it was a prideful moment, really, for our whole organization, everyone at Planet. A major milestone for our company. But what does it mean for you guys, our customers and partners? In short, going public has enabled us to invest in accelerating our product roadmap. And I hope this will bring benefits to all of you, and you'll hear about some of those here today. And we went public as a public benefit corporation, which is a unique form. It actually requires our Planet, as an organization and our board, to deliver results, not just against for shareholder value, but also the broader benefits of society and our mission. So it enables us to do good and do well. I think it's really cool. And having just had our 10th anniversary as an organization, Robbie, my co-founder, and I shared a vision for the future. Basically, where we've come in the past decade and where we're going in the next. And I'll be touching on that a little bit as we get towards the future at the end of this talk. And on the product side, let's first go to space. Of course, our ability to do agile building of satellites is what allows us to produce the unique data that we have. Since last Explore, we launched more than 80 more Super Doves, maintaining our global daily scan of the Earth at 3.7 meters and in 8 spectral bands. Here's one of the launches, the one from January. It's this scan that enables us to do many of our most important applications. agriculture, which represents about a quarter of the landmass of the Earth, and forestry, similarly. Energy, disaster response, and more. Even in defense and intelligence, where a sector where consuming satellite data per se is old hat, this scan offers new use cases, finding new threats around corners, and is playing a critical role in Ukraine, something I'll come to in shortly. And our high-resolution system, we've made some pretty good upgrades too. We've doubled the capacity of our high-resolution system. We've also halved the latency from about 10 to 12 hours to about 5 to 6 hours for that system, which is important. Many of our customers were asking for faster data, and so there's still a lot of substantive improvements we're working on there. We also announced last year 2 new fleets. The first is Pelican, which is our next generation high-resolution fleet. It's all about 30 satellites, able to deliver 30 centimeter resolution, up to 30 revisits per day at specific latitudes, and 30-minute latency, a 10-fold improvement over what we have today. The second is Tanager, the hyperspectral fleet. These will have over 400 spectral bands, enabling us to have exquisite sensitivity to pinpoint methane and carbon emissions and track biodiversity too. These missions will open up vast new potential and new industries that we can support. I'm pleased to say that we're doing the first tech demos of both of these missions later this year. And on the software side, we have built and continue to build better and easier ways to get access and get answers from the data. Since last Explore, we launched better band-to-band registration, shown here, also improved image quality in a number of other areas, and built foundations such as admin and quota stuff, which is really important on the back end. We also announced 3 acquisitions. We announced Vandersat in November 2021, and Salo Sciences just in December, and now just 2 weeks ago, Synergize. Each one enables us to improve our ability to get access to information and insights that all of our customers need to make faster decisions. So that completes our little revolution of the last year. And we're here today to talk on the theme of transparency to action. And what we've seen in the last year is how the ability to see this transparency on the planet can drive action across the planet. The key point is that transparency leads to accountability, and accountability leads to action. We've seen that in myriad cases. But for example, when we released the Allen Coral Atlas, we've already seen 30 initiatives to build marine protected areas around that data. It gives countries practical information to protect their coral reefs. So what's driving all of this? What's driving these trends? I think there are 3 significant tailwinds that are driving the Earth observation sector broadly, and where Planet's data is especially key. Digital transformation, sustainability transformation, and peace and security. At Planet, we're feeling the pull from all 3 of these, from customers across a range of vertical markets and around the whole globe. With all of these shifts, the first step is measurement. You can't manage what you don't measure, and that's where Earth observation data comes in. Our data is critical to supporting companies, organizations, and governments as they navigate these global shifts. The data from Earth observation is not just relevant to these transformations, it's foundational to them. I want to share a few examples, one for each of these. On digital transformation, I want to highlight Bayer. Bayer uses our fusion monitoring data, which we launched back at the Explore in 2020, to track field conditions with unprecedented granularity, which you can see over here. And that's in order to do precision agriculture, sustainable agriculture, and maintain predictability of their supply chain. You'll hear more from Jim Kinnett, the Vice President of Bayer, later today. On sustainability, I want to highlight our partnership with Accenture. In particular, they did a proof of concept for the Inter-American Development Bank based here in DC. Using machine learning models from them and our data, Accenture was able to create geospatial solutions that model the impact of climate change on energy capacity in Central America and the Caribbean. This helps them to guide optimal placement of capital investments and in energy infrastructure and community assets, prioritizing climate resilience and the vulnerability of surrounding communities. Accenture will be speaking also here at Explore. And finally, on peace and security. Planet is committed to supporting peace and security with unclassified and non-exclusive data, services to the government all over the world to reduce conflict and protect their borders and so on. The US government's industry-defining contract last year, EOCL, highlighted the growing need and significant role that unclassified information can play in the pursuit of peace and security. Of course, perhaps the biggest event and focus there for the past year has been in Ukraine. Planet's data and others have been used there in myriad ways, three key ones. Firstly, operationally helping Ukraine and NATO allies with intelligence. Secondly, on the humanitarian side, as Planet Data supported NGOs, providing everything from medical to food supplies. And thirdly, with the news media, shedding light on those events so that everyone can see what's going on. Showing examples of this type is a little bit harder because most of them are confidential, of course. But let me highlight some projects that I can show. This is the Eyes on Russia map project, which is led by C4ADS, as well as the Center for Information Resilience, CIR, and Bellingcat, three think tank customers of Planet. It aims to collect, verify photos, satellite data, and more to provide decision makers and the public access to trustworthy information about what's going on with the invasion. I also want to share this example from RUSI, a UK think tank that uses our data to monitor illicit trafficking from North Korea, which they use to fund their nuclear missile programs against international embargoes. Last month, this work was featured in the Financial Times with a joint investigation there. It was really cool. To wrap our tour of the themes, I wanted to share this example, my favorite from the entire year, which is the work by NASA Harvest. They used our data to do a countrywide analysis, crop by crop, field by field, across all of Ukraine. It actually showed that the overall crop yield was close to the 5-year average, which is kind of remarkable given the fact that the country was at war, that the farmers were able to still do their farming. But it also highlighted that 22% of those farms were under Russian control, and that then led to investigative journalists to find that Russia was stealing some of that grain and taking it to Syria and Turkey against international agreements and allowing other countries to hold them to account. This work is incredibly important, not just for feeding people in Ukraine, but for global food security, because many of the poorest countries rely on Ukraine for their grain. It's also an exemplar of the Planet daily scan and the relevance. Simply, this project could not be done without our daily scan. You'll hear more from Imbal, the lead of that project at NASA Harvest, on this important work tomorrow. This example also shows how sustainability and security are increasingly intertwined, which is why at Planet we have conviction that we need to tackle both of them together. And finally, sort of cross-cutting all of these is where Planet's data is having impact in the public domain, that is, in the hands of news organizations the world over. We've entered a new era of global transparency and accountability. Satellite data in the news reduces the gap between what governments and citizens know and has brought accountability to government actions the world over. As The Economist said recently of Ukraine, satellite data and other so-called open source intelligence has lifted the fog of war and enabled everyone to understand what's going on. And all of these developments are bigger than just Ukraine. The Earth observation sector, with its unbiased data, is a critical counterforce to misinformation online, where we can triangulate these data sources and find the truth. And that is really important for societies generally and democracies in particular. And one final word I'd say on this. All of these tools and systems we built as a community with the profound and acute challenges we've seen in Ukraine are not just relevant there. The countrywide crop analysis is relevant to agricultural ministries and companies all around the world. Tracking illegal transshipments is relevant to coast guards around the world. So whilst Ukraine was the impetus, the tools that we've collectively developed have far-reaching benefits. So now let's get to my favorite part, some of the announcements. Technology that we're building to work with all you guys. The first is on planetary variables. Planetary variables take pixels and images and make them into decision-ready insights in order for everyone to take action. I'm excited to share the first 4 of these are available today on our API. Those are these ones. So soil water content, land surface temperature, biomass, proxy, and roads and buildings. The first 3 of these stem from the Vandersat acquisition that I mentioned earlier. These planetary variables don't just show change, they measure it. Having them on our API makes them easier to download and operationalize at scale for use in agriculture and insurance and other industries. A few weeks ago, as an example, the CEO of AXA, the insurance company, visited us in San Francisco. They're using our soil water content for agriculture insurance, specifically parametric drought insurance, whereby they monitor their crop fields and pay out automatically if the soil moisture gets below X% for more than Y days. It's pretty cool. No images ever looked at. Swiss Re is doing exactly that same method. And I'm really delighted to see that when we launched these, how swiftly people use them to add value to their customer workflow. Furthermore, I'm excited to talk about the next 3 that are coming down the chute. These will be released later this year. So forest structure, forest carbon, and vegetative encroachment. All of these are from our recent acquisition of Salo Sciences. To illuminate and focus just on one for a second that really excites me, it's the carbon forest one. Currently, monitoring and planning carbon accounting face difficult trade-offs. Either A, you have ground-based systems with drones and LiDAR, which are accurate, but not very scalable, certainly not to keep them up to date. Or you have satellite data, which is scalable, but too coarse and thus inaccurate. Well, with Planet's forest carbon, we'll be able to produce the first accurate, consistent, scalable, and high-resolution forestry carbon measurement. Later this year, we'll be producing this at a global scale and update it frequently. And this matters because at the end of every year, every company and every country doesn't just have to put its balance sheet in order in the financial sense, will have to balance its carbon books. It will start with counting carbon into and out of their facilities and supply chains. It will involve carbon trading and carbon credits. This will necessitate accurate measurement of forest carbon, and that's what this planetary variable provides. I can't underscore this enough. There's a multi-trillion-dollar transition that needs to take place as our economy hits up against planetary boundaries. And this planetary variable can help enable that and even accelerate that transition. Secondly, I want to talk a little bit about Sinergise that we announced just 2 weeks ago. As you probably heard, we announced our intent to acquire the business of Sinergise. We want to tell you a little bit more about what that means. So Sinergise is a Slovenia-based company that is perhaps best known for producing the leading Earth observation platform, Sentinel Hub. It has thousands of users worldwide. Its APIs and web tools enable customers to move to the cloud, transform imagery into derived data products, such as statistics and time series, all of which allow diverse users to plug into Earth observation data. We've been partners with Sinergise for a long time, actually, and many of our customers wanted Planet Labs data to be delivered over the Sentinel Hub, and many of their customers wanted access to Planet Labs data, so it was a natural match. The goal of this acquisition is simple: helping customers and partners with ease of use and speeding up time to value. It really, truly accelerates Planet's Earth data platform vision. Let me give you an example of how this works. Recently, we partnered with Sinergise to address the EU's Common Agricultural Programme, CAP. This subsidizes farmers who use sustainable agricultural practices. Of course, all of those sustainable agricultural practices have to be monitored, and Sinergise helps organizations like the government of Slovenia to use Planet's data to monitor and enable their CAP subsidies. You'll hear more from Kevin shortly in the product keynote, and he'll talk in depth about that partnership. Thirdly, I want to announce a new access program. As I said at the start, Planet cannot possibly do all of these, build all the tools or analysis on its own. It takes an ecosystem. That's why we're here. And so to democratize access to the data we need to enable not just the large companies and governments to access the data, but all of the smaller organizations. And so we're committed to decreasing the barriers to accessing our data. In October, we launched this, the nonprofit program, which supports NGOs and nonprofit organizations to working to address some of the most complex challenges of our time. And here's some of the examples of some of the early participants in that. To mention two, the Nature Conservancy uses the data to do conservation and restoration efforts in coastal ecosystems. And Nat Geo uses the data to conduct conservation and humanitarian research on expeditions around the world. So to build on that, today we're announcing this, the Startup Program. This is to enable early-stage organizations to build innovative applications powered by Planet's data. The Startup Program provides access to generous amounts of Planet's data, technical support in the form of onboarding and training and so on, and then with validation, graduating to our partner program to help commercialize and scale. This year, we'll be starting by providing access to 30 startups, and we've already got a first cohort, and we can't wait to see and watch, let me show you again, what they prototype and build and experiment. I'm excited to welcome some of them here today. Two of the first cohort are speaking here at the Planet Explore. If you're interested in the Startup Program, by the way, you can stop by the Startup Kiosk, which is in the expo, and or submit your interest over online on planet.com/startup. Okay, now let's turn to the future, just a tiny bit. I'm hugely excited by the combination of Planet's data and artificial intelligence. In 2018, I gave a TED Talk where I shared the vision for what I called Queryable Earth. To move from looking at images or spreadsheets to an interface where you could type in questions and get answers to physical change on Earth. What you would end up with is a search engine for the planet. And while we've had the data for some time, it's exciting to see how machine learning technologies are accelerating, making this a reality. All that said, by the way, I want to acknowledge that, I actually don't know what this is doing. Yeah, this is some of the questions one might imagine asking, of course. All that said, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that the need for thoughtful development of these AI technologies. There's an explosion of new capabilities with ChatGPT and other large language models which have significant consequences, mostly good, a few challenging, and a few potentially existential. So it's critical, given the latter, that we steer AI toward those good uses and avoid the pitfalls. But with that caveat, I'd have to say that there's no question that AI can unlock massive potential, including helping us to steward the planet. And Planet's data is a treasure trove for AI. It's something that we've started to talk about, and that we've seen changes in the last month, though, that really accelerate this development. And it enables us to unlock the vast value of Earth observation like never before. The future where machine learning dramatically expands the applications for Planet's data is here. Let me provide a couple of examples that have blown me away. First, you will have seen when, hopefully, you will have seen the work that we did with Microsoft to help do a building damage assessment, building by building, across large areas of Ukraine for the United Nations. This solution was developed by training AI models to assess building damage in satellite imagery, obviously. And as you can see here, it points out the buildings that are damaged. It took a few months to develop this model. In the wake of the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria, we had a team in Turkey on the ground within 24 hours. And we were able to work with Microsoft and other partners to quickly produce this, again, for those emergency response efforts, but in this case, in just a couple of days. That sort of increased time is, of course, critical in those sort of emergency response cases. The second example I want to give is this. Many folks watched as a high-altitude Chinese balloon flew over North American airspace, and we received a lot of interest. Could we find where it came from? Could we find it at all? And Planet worked with AI startup Synthetic, which is able to deploy an AI model to search for the balloon, quickly locate it in our imagery, and then You find it in dozens of places. You can see some of the sightings. It's really cool with the different colors because it's the parallax of the satellite going over top, sort of telltale sign. And they were able to actually track it back to its launch site. Really powerful stuff. I want to highlight that it's Planet's daily scan that's particularly important to AI. This archive of 2,400 images going back over 7 years now is a treasure trove to develop AI applications. Its breadth of coverage and consistent deep stack is critical for training AI. And it also enables this kind of thing, this planetary forensics almost, searching for objects around the globe back through time that you, in many cases, didn't even know you wanted to look for when it comes over. No one knew we needed to look in Alaska or across the Pacific several weeks after the balloon was flying. But while these examples are exciting, they're just the tip of the iceberg of the potential. So what's next? Where's this all going? Well, if you look at satellite data and combine it with large language models, like that used for ChatGPT, what might we be able to do? Well, ChatGPT has searched the text of the internet and made answers to questions about it. You could imagine an image GPT or a planet GPT or whatever you would call it to do something like that, but give answers about the Earth. That's exactly in line with what I said in that TED Talk. Instead of doing this sort of classical ML of counting objects such as buildings or balloons, a large language model that's multimodal on our imagery might be able to summarize changes around the planet, pull out various themes, offer suggestions on how to take action, give semantic understanding even. That's where this is all going. Not today, but I think faster than we'd ever thought just a few months ago. So stepping back, what does this all mean? Combining our powerful new AI tools to the planet's data set, plus now Synergize's cloud streaming platform, is accelerating Planet's journey towards our Earth data platform. Between these global tailwinds that I spoke of digital transformation, sustainability, and peace and security, as well as the AI that enables ever more powerful capabilities on top of that data, it's my conviction that the Earth observation sector is standing on the forefront of a massive, massive opportunity. An opportunity that we need to tackle together to help the challenges of the world, and that we need to tackle together as a community. So I want to end by thanking all of you, our partners and our customers. We couldn't do this without you. I'm excited to spend more time over the next couple of days with you all to deepen our collaborations so that we can take more action to help Spaceship Earth. Thank you very, very much.